Hi, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the green opal. Group 2 is the desert rose selenite. And group 3 is the green calcite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for, unless you like to listen to the shuffling of cards as a form of ASMR, in which case just continue to listen right on through. But otherwise, I will give you a minute to make your selection. Please use the timestamps and we'll get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. You chose the green opal. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self right now? Okay, and they say, how can I ever pay you back? So this person could be sitting in a lot of nostalgia right now, thinking about words of wisdom that you had given them, things that maybe didn't make sense in the past or that they had ignored, or even kind of done the opposite of whatever you could have recommended to them, that is now starting to make sense for them. They're starting to really reflect in hindsight, to recognize the value of your presence, the friendship that the 2 of you once shared. And again, these words of wisdom that you imparted to them, little seeds that were planted that have now started to germinate, that maybe have helped them in other kind of issues that they have been facing, or some kind of a spiritual awakening, some kind of process with that, a spiritual journey, an ascension journey that they are on. And just thinking back even on your presence and the time spent together. Again, these kind of words of wisdom that you had shared. These things are almost acting as kind of a lifeline or an anchor for this person at this point in their life, at this point in their personal journey. And it's with a sense of gratitude that they are looking at you now versus ways in which they may have taken you for granted in the past. They also say your picture brings me to tears. So they could be looking back over old photos of you, photos of the two of you together. Again, this energy of heavily of nostalgia that they are sitting in right now. This can also be somebody who is watching you on social media, who is starting to really see and recognize some kind of a glow about you, maybe even a glow up that you have gone through, or something about you that they didn't have the capacity to recognize and appreciate before, that maybe through the course of some kind of spiritual awakening, as their priorities have changed, as they have started to look less at kind of the surface characteristics of people and have really started to value kind of the inherent qualities of the soul, in terms of what they are valuing in connections and people that they are wanting in their life. They may have a lot of people that have left their life recently, connections that they have outgrown. This could be friends, family, or even other romantic connections. And this is somebody who's starting to exercise more discernment about the company they are keeping. There's something that they see in you, that they recognize in you. Again, some kind of glow, maybe through a glow up or something that was always inherent and apparent within you that they just, they weren't really looking for before. They didn't really know how to decipher this. They didn't know how to interpret this. And just through memory, through looking back over photos or even new photos, current photos that you are posting online, posting on social media, something has really kind of become apparent to them. This intangible quality that you possess, that you have always possessed, and that may be very heightened at this point in time, that is drawing them back in your direction. That's the kind of energy that they want in their life. They also say, I would just hurt you more right now. I need to be alone. So again, some kind of spiritual awakening that they might be going through, kind of a process of a lot being shaken up in their life, a lot of endings, a lot of things falling away. Somebody who's really trying to find themselves at this point in time to determine, as they're kind of deciphering and using some discernment as far as what they're surrounding themselves with, learning what fits, what works with them, what they have outgrown and need to kind of move away from. They're in this sort of liminal space, this in-between space right now, where they're still trying to find who they are. They're still trying to, construct a life that is more in alignment with who they are becoming, who they are awakening to the reality of who they are at their core, their most authentic self. And it's in this, almost this energy of being a work in progress. Kind of at that place in between endings and beginnings, where as much as they are feeling very compelled towards you, feeling very drawn towards your energy, toward that intangible something, that glow that they recognize or that they remember and are now appreciating on a deeper level, there is this recognition as they look around them, maybe at kind of not being at the place in their 3D reality that they want to be, or a lot that's still needing to take place and develop or even fall away internally, that it almost feels that they only want to really approach and return to you to make some kind of effort when they have something measurable to show, when they've almost got time behind them of some kind of a change that they've made, some kind of a lifestyle change, or maybe, that they're not coming to you with all these kind of dreams and things that they want to do and these what ifs and these future possibilities, but they're understanding a lot of this work that is needing to be done right now, that they're being called to do, or the process that they are in. It's a very kind of internal and individual process that they're needing to go through, and wanting to return to you with something that's measurable, something that's tangible, some kind of proof that these changes are not just wishful thinking, that they have actually taken place, they have taken root, that this person has created some kind of a new foundation or a new life or a new lifestyle for themselves. Okay, and they say, please wait for me. I am working up the courage to come to you. When you do, I can see our hearts beating as one. So they feel you in the distance, in the silence. They are feeling this energetic connection very strongly between the two of you. And again, this idea of being this work in progress, that there are things that they are needing to develop in their life, cycles that are needing to be closed out, things that are in the process of falling away, and almost this void, this space that has been created in their life that they are needing to fill with other things that they are proud of, things that resonate with the person that they are trying to become, or that they are discovering that they have always been deep down inside. And there's a sense of any kind of distance, or this desire to, maybe stay away, feeling safer in the silence, or feeling that, to approach you at this point in time would just sort of further complicate matters. They don't want to sort of bring you into all of this turmoil and this upheaval that is going on in their life. But there's a sense of kind of seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe they are starting to see kind of the first blossoms, the first fruits of these efforts that they are making in another direction. And it's starting to give them some hope that on the other side of kind of all of this upheaval, that there is change, that things will work out, in a positive way or to their benefit, that it won't always be this energy of loss that kind of overshadows or characterizes their life, but that what is kind of falling away is being replaced with something better, something more in alignment with who they are. And so again, with this idea of cycles, not wanting to kind of remain distant forever, or, for the foreseeable future, but somebody who, is very kind of quickly going through this, somebody who's moved out of a state of resistance and into flow with the changes that are needing to happen for them, and with this desire of, on the other side of that, having something measurable, having something tangible, actions that can support words of change to be able to provide to you, so that a fresh start can culminate, or maybe even the germination of your friendship once again. They also say, I am aware, but don't quite understand the connection. So they're very cognizant of something out of the ordinary about the dynamic between the both of you. There could be strong telepathy going on with you that they are very much consciously aware of. They are seeing the signs. They are seeing the synchronicities. They feel you energetically. They sense you. It's almost this energy of anticipating your moves, or that they get these little clues, or these energetic sort of nudges, almost like a bell rings within them, and they feel this compulsion to kind of reach out towards you, to reach out energetically, or to look you up online, check out your social media profile, and that what they are seeing, it affects them very profoundly. Maybe these are even kind of nudges or things that resonate, things that are almost like these little innuendos, or kind of these these sort of sub rosa clues that you are leaving for them, this kind of trail of breadcrumbs where you're not outwardly directly giving them some kind of a message, but it's very suggestive, and they're picking up on that. They're almost feeling that inclination, and then at the right moment looking, searching, seeking, and finding that kind of resonance, that confirmation that is really, it's setting the message home to them that there's something more to this connection. This is more than just your average connection. There's something very, again, out of the ordinary about this. There's something otherworldly about this deep empathy that the two of you share. This might be a very sensitive person, and with some psychic abilities. They might consider themselves an empath, whether they call themselves that or not. This might be something that kind of a gift that they are starting to lean into. That can be part of that energy of needing to be alone, needing to kind of figure all this out and how this works for them, how they can kind of navigate their life with sort of that knowledge of who they are on that kind of energetic level. But they're starting to really decipher how the two of you share some kind of bond in that capacity. Whatever they are, you are, and vice versa. And it's something which really sets this connection apart from others that they have had in the past. There's a sense of deep intimacy and knowing. Again, this empathic connection between the both of you, where you're exchanging feelings with one another. They can sense your moods shifting. They sense when things are going very well. They're sensing when, maybe things are a little bit tough and you need this person energetically. You're needing comfort in some way. And so energetically, they're reaching out to you in those moments, maybe coming to you in the form of dreams, or you're just feeling them very strongly around you. And this goes both ways. They are also sensing the reciprocity of that from you, that at kind of their darkest moments, they feel your energy around them. They feel you reaching out to them. Whatever words are not able to be spoken in a 3D sense, these things are very tangibly and very consciously being exchanged energetically between the both of you. And it's something that they may still need some time to figure this out. They may be researching, kind of like spiritual connections, soul connections. They may have come across ideas of twin flame or soulmate and are starting to really consider these things. That can tie into those words of wisdom, those seeds that you had planted before, that maybe they had just kind of dismissed that, it hadn't made sense. They weren't self-aware enough or open to that ascension enough for that to really resonate with them. But it stayed with them nonetheless. It stayed in their subconscious. It was always kind of in the back of their mind. And now at this point in time, there's an openness within them where these concepts are starting to resonate. These sensations are starting to resonate more. And it's something they're still in that process of figuring out, but they have definitely been able to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff in this circumstance, to where this connection is different from all others that they have experienced before. And there's something that they really set apart about that, which is kind of motivating them on the other side of this change to create something measurable, something of value, and something that is tangible to provide to you when they kind of approach you once again in a 3D sense, to reach out, either to re-spark the bonds of friendship, or to maybe clean the slate between the two of you, offer some kind of apology or explanation, to kind of get those wheels turning in the department of romance once again, in whatever way that resonates for you. They also say, I am coming to you. I know now all I want is you. So direct confirmation of what I was just saying there, where this person is definitely, their discernment is top notch at this point in time. They are really seeing with fresh eyes this connection, in contrast to other connections that they have currently in their life or that they have entertained before. And they are able to really perceive kind of this intangible value, this wealth that this connection has infused them with, that is beyond things that are surface level. It's beyond how things look or how compatible the two of you are on the outside. There's some kind of a soul sustenance that this connection provides to them, has provided in the past, and continues to provide in maybe a period of separation or distance that you find yourselves in. And the more that this person is kind of looking within, looking at their circumstances, kind of letting things fall away, the closer they are getting to, stepping into that place of confidence, to having these answers that they need, or at least sufficient enough understanding and grasp of what it is that they are feeling and what it is that they want, where they are then willing to kind of take that chance, to make that move, to put themselves out there and see what happens. Okay, and they say, you are so gorgeous. I want to love you and explore every inch of you. So they're very drawn to you, very attracted to you. Again, they might be looking at old pictures that they have of you, or new pictures that you have posted, seeing you in a fresh light, seeing you, maybe it's been a while since they've, really looked at photos or looked you up online, and it's almost like they're being overcome with this surge of attraction for you, not just on a physical level, but again, it's this soul attraction, this draw that they have to you, for this glow that you emanate. They find you to be so radiant, and it's something that they, it makes them very curious. They're very aware of that kind of dynamic, that draw, something about you that is different than other people that they have met, than anyone they've ever met before. And it's very overwhelming, and yet at the same time, it's something which is pulling them in closer to want to, explore this more, to, bask in that more, to enter into proximity with that in a physical capacity. Other than just, and beyond just kind of lurking in the shadows and kind of watching from afar and dreaming of this and wishing of this and kind of, thinking about this, daydreaming about this. There's this desire to kind of take action, to do what they need to do to sort of clean up their situation, clean up their life, continue on their own sort of ascension and development process in order to be able to kind of be capable, to have that capacity to sustain this vibrations glow that you emanate, to be able to bask in that radiance rather than come close only to become overwhelmed and run again. They also say, when I close my eyes, all I see is your beautiful face. I could stare at you for eternity. So again, more of that energy of being deeply attracted to you on the soul level, very physically attracted to you, somebody who's heavily in that nostalgia, looking back on those old photos or even photographs that they have in their mind, memories that the two of you have made with one another. And they also say, you fill my heart with so much love and joy. So this person could have really undergone a heart chakra activation recently that has helped to cleanse their perceptions in terms of what it is that they want for themselves in life in general, what love means to them, how they have defined that up to this point in time, and ways in which that definition could really use almost a spring cleaning, could really become updated, something about this connection that is so different than what they've known or experienced previously, that it's causing them to really sift through and decipher the definitions that they've had of love and romance and partnership in the past. And, you know, the intangible, the empathic bond that you share, this energetic connection, this cord which attaches the both of you. It's something which really helps to sustain them and encourage them and motivate them through this process of kind of upheaval and turmoil and things upending, endings followed by beginnings, and kind of that liminal space that they may find themselves in. And in the midst of all of that, there's this constancy, there's this draw, there's this clarity that they have about who you are to them, what you have always meant to them, as much as they may have been in denial about that. This is somebody who sees clearly now and is become very focused on what it is that they want, and are in this process of kind of sifting and sorting through these other sort of factors of their life and facets of who they are to determine what fits with that and what needs to be kind of released or discarded or moved beyond. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got F, L, P, J, W, S, T, R, M, B, Q, Z, U, A, I, and V. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the Desert Rose Selenite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self? Okay, and they say, you are the song of my heart. So music might be very important to this connection. This person could be a musician. You could have sent songs back and forth to one another. You could have playlists that are very significant to one another. Song lyrics might be speaking to the 2 of you at this point in time. But there's a sense of really this person feeling bad about any dissonance that was created in this connection, a desire to work toward harmony with you, if given the opportunity, somebody who wants to work with you as opposed to continuing to fight against this connection, somebody who sees the 2 of you as capable of really creating a very beautiful life together. Somebody who, as they are reflecting, is really looking at the times that you have shared together, almost very in an idyllic sense. And there might have been, stress and kind of difficulties that you faced, but when they're thinking about the good times that you shared, there's almost a soundtrack in the background. It's almost like, very romantic, more so than they've ever known or experienced with anyone in their life previously or since. And it's something where, kind of this quality, this aspect, that idea of, again, kind of this background music that plays, this, this orchestra of these very romantic songs, when they're thinking about time that they've spent with you, or, even just kind of dreaming about that, dreaming about maybe even that kind of initial point of contact, those butterflies that they felt, that exhilaration, that certainty, that spark, that electricity. It's something which is really, it's soothing them. It's very emotional for them. It's very cathartic for them. And they're also seeing this as a very beautiful experience, that the good times they shared with you have been among the most beautiful experiences of their life. It's been something they haven't been able to kind of recapture or replicate in other circumstances, as much as, they might be kind of giving the impression of being very unbothered by the circumstances between you or by the separation. You have remained in their heart nonetheless. They also say, I miss you more than you know. So that really ties in with almost this heavy feeling of nostalgia, this almost bittersweet feeling where they may be idealizing the connection a little bit, the times that you spent together, things that they might have taken for granted, or things that might have just been very mundane experiences between the both of you. They're now seeing this in just this heightened romantic capacity, and maybe it's just as time has gone by and kind of how pervasive these feelings for you have remained or have grown to be within them, that the time is not kind of diminishing the feelings that they have for you. These things are only growing stronger, and as much as they're maybe giving one impression on the outside in a 3D sense of being very unbothered, having kind of moved ahead with their life in some way, they have been unable to shake the memories of you. They keep getting a lot of reminders of you as well, maybe even kind of going back and listening to songs that remind them of you, love songs, romantic songs, maybe even sad songs, and just kind of sitting in that kind of bittersweet melancholy, almost punishing themselves to a degree with that, not feeling necessarily worthy or ready to step forward and give some kind of an apology, but just kind of at this place almost of a little bit of self-pity going on, where they feel more comfortable just kind of sitting in that darkness and that despair and that longing, rather than recognizing they have the power and the ability to kind of change these circumstances, to at least take a chance and make an effort in that direction, rather than just kind of sitting and sort of dwelling or ruminating on kind of this energy of defeat and loss. They also say, I know that the fire that burns in you is the same that burns in me. So again, that idea of seeing the two of you is very compatible, that there's a harmony that you are able to create with one another. There's an electricity, a magnetism, an intensity to this connection that might have frightened them at first. It might have been, very alluring, but then very overwhelming almost. Something that was sparked or awoken within them. Again, this idea of this heavily romantic vibe here that might have been so outside of the ordinary, especially if this is someone who is more practical or kind of logically minded, that the emotions that were really stirred up within them initially in this connection from the outset, or that kind of build or grew between the two of you over time, that this is something that is very outside of their comfort zone. They felt very warmed and comforted by that, but at the same time very fearful of kind of what could happen, what, kind of the pain or the disappointment or loss that could ensue by opening their heart up too much to you and to this connection, only to have things not work out or find themselves out in the cold. And so a little bit of kind of a self-sabotage energy, where that fear of being out in the cold has resulted in them putting themselves out there nonetheless, where they are kind of then in this sort of syrupy energy of melancholy and of longing at this point in time, feeling that compatibility, and yet not recognizing their ability to kind of, or the necessity to take some kind of action, to at least put themselves out there, to try to find a solution, a way to kind of get out of this stickiness in some way, in order to really see what can be salvaged out of this, what can grow out of this, or to at least alleviate some of the burden of that, of just kind of sitting and thinking and building the situation up into more than it needs to be over the course of time. Okay, and they say, when we look into each other's eyes, our souls become initialized. So that's that electricity, that pop, that magnetism, that intensity, something sparked within this person, perhaps even bordering on sort of love at first sight when they encountered you, that is very much outside of their comfort zone. It's very much outside of what they've ever known or experienced in connections before or since. They're very drawn towards you. They're very magnetized towards you, but at the same time, very overwhelmed by what has been awoken within them by this connection. There's a sense of timelessness to this as well, a sense of a deep past life connection here also, that kind of the more, or even just initially, or through the whole course of this circumstance, eye contact could have been very difficult for this person, because when they look into your eyes, when you're looking into each other's eyes, they almost see the timelessness of your soul. They may have started to have visions of past lives, or the sense of familiarity of having known you from another time, another place, from another land, from another reality that could have been so outside of their wheelhouse, thoughts of that nature, a stirring of that nature inside of them, that the otherness of that, the intensity of that was very alluring, and at the same time really caused them to kind of pull back or recoil from this. It was a sense of vulnerability that is beyond even their most, what they've been able to tap into in their most kind of intimate or long-term relationships. There's a sense of, maybe them feeling that it wasn't getting to know you or meeting for you for the first time, but this deep recognition of having known you from somewhere before, remembering you, reconnecting with you, getting to rediscover or relearn you, which now in kind of this distance, there's this longing for that. There's this desire to move back in that direction, wanting to be in kind of that warmth and that familiarity and that knowing with you once again, but again, not really seeing or being able to decipher a way forward out of kind of this very sticky and heavy sort of energy of melancholy and regret. They also say, insecurities kept me away. I hope one day I can be brave and tell you just how much I love you. So more of that confirmation of the intensity of this connection. Somebody who, might have not felt that they were good enough, for you, kind of put you up on a pedestal a little bit, or just the intensity of what was exchanged between the two of you, things you might have expressed about what you were looking for in a partnership, your goals and dreams for life in general, or what you wanted to build in the long term in terms of a family, in terms of a partnership or marriage. That the sound of that, kind of the vibration of that was very enticing for this person at first. And then doubt sort of crept in. Were they ready for that? Were they ready to kind of step their life up, to live this very electrified and intense life with you? Somebody who might have, even kind of doubted if that initial spark and that intensity, that overwhelming wave of attraction and magnetism and energy that, is kind of exchanged between the both of you, even in things as mundane as eye contact. There was a sense of overwhelm. Did they have the ability and the capacity to sustain this long term? Not really seeing or recognizing that it would become easier in time to kind of navigate that, to manage that, to acclimate to that. Somebody who maybe only looked at things as very black and white. The intensity of this connection is a contrast to kind of the more predictable and safe sort of conditions that they'd experienced with others in love and romance in their life in general, and a sense of kind of fear that this wave would overwhelm them, would sort of obliterate their identity altogether, and that the power of this love had the capacity to not only really uplift them, but also bring them to kind of their lowest point, and this fear that they had of almost the failure, or if this, this intensity, this spark between the both of you, if that's all this was, kind of a doubt that crept in, not trusting in the signs and synchronicities and this deep soul knowing, but somebody that was almost fearing that maybe this was just kind of like a superficial attraction, something like a temptation or a forbidden fruit almost, that that they felt in the past they were almost wiser to move away from, but then in the aftermath of that decision, they are then left with this kind of melancholy and the sense of regret at having made the wrong choice. They also say, what will you say or do if I come back? Will you forgive me and love me? So they are deliberating a little bit, kind of what that might look like. They're not seeing a way forward. They're not confident enough to take any action at this point in time, but there is this longing, this desire, this yearning. You may really feel this person pulling on your energy a lot at this point in time, feeling a heaviness or a sorrow that is emanating from them, and it really seems to be stemming from kind of this loop, this draw, this attraction that they have to you, this knowledge that they are coming into or starting to accept more and more of the deep compatibility between the two of you, longing for that, wanting that closeness in their life once again, but then almost immediately just kind of pushing themselves back down into that place of kind of doubt and despair, that it might be too little too late, or that they've missed an opportunity, or still even doubting that they have what it takes to, really to be able to kind of ride the wave of this love, this connection, this intensity. Still kind of that fear about, what if this connection completely just overruns them, in a very destructive way that they can't come back from. And in the process of that, they're almost overrunning themselves by kind of creating that worst case scenario that they were seeking to avoid in the first place. And they say, when I am with you, I feel so complete. I don't want for anything else. So a sense of soul recognition, a oneness that they feel with you, deep past life connection, and a compatibility that transcends even sort of the physical circumstances between the both of you. There's a connectedness at your soul. It's almost like two magnets snapping into place, that they may have felt that very initially with you. It's a bond which, although they've pulled away, there's always been this kind of draw back towards you. It almost feels that, having touched upon this, having been awakened by this intensity, it's been very difficult to kind of return to a different kind of life, that there's a sense of, whatever they had kind of filled their life with, or that had brought them joy in the past, or that they thought they wanted, or was kind of what they were working toward, romantically speaking, and, even in their definition and their idea of love and partnerships, it just doesn't have that same thrill. It doesn't have that same velocity that it once had. And they say, I've been sinking into blissful meditation lately and receiving higher guidance about you and me. So more of that energy of kind of contemplation and kind of a little bit of the light sort of getting through in that soupiness that they are sitting in, and that kind of that very stuck and sticky place that they are in, which is confirmed with that idea of sinking. This is definitely somebody who's kind of sinking into that place, and there are signs that are coming in. There are nudges. There are hands that are being held out to them in kind of this darkness, that they're seeing these things, but they've got this almost defeatist attitude that it's, again, too little too late. It's a missed opportunity, not confident enough that they have what it takes to really meet you at your level, kind of doubting if, even if these feelings, if these sensations are mutually felt, or if this is something that they've just kind of built up in their head, really questioning their own intuition at this point in time, but their higher self and their spirit team, and their angels and source in the universe really trying to hammer that point home to this person, again, through these signs and these recognitions and these synchronicities, songs that they are hearing, seeing your name a lot, reminders of you and the times that you've shared with one another. They almost can't get this connection out of their mind. They're thinking about this and also seeing a lot in the external reality that is kind of pointing them back in this direction. They also say, I have an insatiable desire for you. I crave you. I want to seduce you and caress your body all over. So they are deeply attracted to you, physically, at the soul level, at an emotional level. It's this magnetism. The two of you really, like those two polarities that may have kind of stretched apart from one another, but this bond has never been broken. They can't forget you. They almost don't want to forget you. There's a sense of, again, almost kind of punishing themselves by sort of sitting in this melancholy, in this energy of what if. It's kind of a very necessary stage to transcendence, though. They've got to sit in their own misery for a certain period of time before enough is enough and some kind of change is needing to be made. There is this desire, this pull that kind of brings them up out of that shadowy energy and directs them in the kind of looking at hope or considering the possibilities of, how the situation might turn, how these tables might be turned, or the page might be turned between the both of you. But it's something that there's still a lot of doubt that's going on. They almost feel more comfortable just in that regret. And again, in that deep sense of longing, which most likely is very tangibly experienced on an energetic level by you, feeling them energetically, feeling them pulling at you energetically, even a lot of this Kundalini energy emanating from them in your direction. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got I, H, V, U, R, L, W, Q, P, G, Y, A, J, Z, K, M, S, N, and T. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the green calcite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self right now? Okay, they say, I am entwined in the thought of finding you one day. So you could be at a physical distance from one another. Maybe this person and you live in different states or different countries. You've kind of lost track of each other, maybe over time, in some kind of a situation of ghosting that might have occurred, or people blocking one another, and maybe your contact information has changed or their contact information has changed. You kind of don't know how to locate one another should the desire for communication turn into actual action to communicate. Maybe this person has attempted to look you up, has tried to Google you, has tried to find you, only to come up with, dead ends, not really seeing a way forward, seeing a way to reach out. There's a feeling with that it's filling them with some frustration, that in some way a method or means that they had of connecting with you at one point in time no longer exists, and they're blaming themselves a lot for that, feeling very foolish for perhaps getting scared or getting very defensive, kind of allowing their shadows and whatever was triggered within them by the dynamics of this connection to cause them to thwart whatever you had built up to a certain point in time, or kind of the lines of communication and dialogue that you had open between the two of you. Maybe some time has passed, or again, just the nature of how they cut things off has really left them in this position that now that they're almost having this change of heart, they're not finding it so easy to reconnect with you once more. They also say, I'm terrified of you. So this ties in definitely with that energy of shadows, something that was triggered within this person, maybe even very unconsciously, energetically, just from the very get-go of meeting you. A deep past life connection that could exist here, where it brought up a lot of shadows, unresolved things that have been carried over incarnation to incarnation that almost didn't have a root cause or a reason. Everything might have seemed very fine. It was going very well, you seemed very compatible with one another, and yet there was this unshakable fear, this fear of loss, or this fear of getting hurt, something unresolved that again at the soul level they'd kind of brought over as this baggage from other lifetimes that had caused them to kind of bolt or run from this connection. They may not fully understand the nature of that now in hindsight, but there is a sense of having talked themselves off of some kind of ledge to a certain degree, recognizing how they may have kind of overreacted in the past, made kind of a mountain out of a molehill in the past, and feeling very foolish for that. They may have attempted to reach out to you, or again have kind of done some research to locate you, or at least have contemplated this. And it's something where, there's a lot of frustration. There's an energy of frustration on their part. Kind of what would they say at this point in time? Pride and ego maybe getting in the way, not really wanting to admit that they were scared of you. They're scared of the intensity of this connection, of these feelings of loss and kind of sorrow stemming from nowhere, and feeling very irrational in that sense, not being really sure how to explain that, how to make sense of that within them. And also the sense of you hold a lot of power over them. The attraction and the intensity of this connection, it affects them very deeply. And so there was this terror that they had that, you with just a word or a look would have the ability to kind of crush them, to ruin their day, or to, kind of completely annihilate them on a heart level, on an emotional level. There was at least this perception of fear that would be possible based on how intensely they felt for you. And so again, pride and ego might have caused them to kind of pull away, or, almost leave you before you could leave them, in order to save themselves from what they perceived to be kind of this deep pain or loss that would have been very hard to overcome, which they have then succeeded in kind of doing that to themselves, putting themselves out in the cold. They also say, I am so lost in the ocean that is you. So this really ties in with these deep emotions that they feel for you, very overwhelmed by this, the intensity of this connection. This may be somebody that didn't really have a lot of experience in romance, maybe kind of a lot of short-term relationships, in and out of relationships, nothing that really amounted to anything very substantial, somebody who was, easily able to just kind of get over connections when things sort of came to an end or brought to a close. But with this connection, it's been something they've been unable to shake. The feelings that they have for you, the depth of them, the timelessness of this, feeling you deep down into their soul. It's something which is both, it's very terrifying and it's very alluring at the same time. This curiosity. Why are you standing apart from everyone they've ever known? What is this kind of feeling that is sparked within you? This desire and this urge they have to explore this more, to restart this more, but at the same time, still that lingering feeling of that you have the ability to just crush this person utterly, or if this connection, if this romance, if they allow themselves to succumb to this fully, if they open their heart up to this fully, and the joy that could really bring to them and immerse them with, it's something that they almost feel that they couldn't live without that. So it's easier, or they felt in the past it had been easier to kind of push this away, put up barriers against this, walls and blocks against this, or kind of remove themselves from the situation altogether. But at the same time, they're pulled very much back in this direction. They're craving this, they're wanting this, and at the same time, that terrifies them, just how much they need you and how much they want you. And they say, I daydream what I will say to you. So much I want to say. So they've got a lot on their mind, a lot in their heart that wasn't unexpressed, maybe some regrets, an apology that might be owed for how they behaved in the past, an impulsive decision to kind of cut things off or kind of block you out, or just not accept the cup of love that you had to offer. This is heavily on their mind, this desire to seek you out, or to at least open up more. If your contact information is still the same, if they still know how to get a hold of you, it's something where they feel almost on that brink of communication, where they're looking at it. They're thinking about that. They're seeing that you're there. You can be reached, you can be accessed, and yet there's this fear holding them back, keeping them in that kind of on that brink of running through all those scenarios of rejection that could occur, or things going well only to sort of collapse then in the future. And they say, I'm scared. I'm afraid that you won't want me. So another confirmation there of fear, a lot of shadows that are holding this person back. A very dense energy to this. Almost somebody who's scared stiff, who can't really make that move forward. All they can do is look and yearn and desire. There's a fear that it's been too much time that has passed, or that maybe some kind of a cloud of attraction that you were in with them before, this kind of very beautiful sort of perfumed, almost a honeymoon phase of this situation, no matter how deep or whatever layer you got to in this connection. There's a sense of worry that their actions or the time that has passed has made that kind of cloud of romance dissipate, and the way that you once looked at them, you will be unable to look at them with those same eyes of love again. And they also say, I fear that I'm not good enough for you, but I'm working on it. So again, a third confirmation there of that energy of fear, this shadowy energy, this very dense and low vibrational energy, where they are not feeling adequate. They are really wondering, what to say to turn this situation around in light of how they may have ended things, especially if this was like a ghosting situation where they just abruptly cut off contact, blocked you out of their life. There's a fear of not knowing what to say, how to make things right in this circumstance. A fear that you would just slam the door right in their face. Pride and ego that is not allowing them to move into that space of humility, to admit their wrongs, to admit that this was really motivated, not by through some lack of love for you, but almost a fear and a questioning of the intensity of feeling that they had for you, of this very palpable energy between you, of this wave of emotion that has become that is so so unlike anything they have experienced previously. It's been something they haven't been able to shake. It's been something that, has stayed with them. It still continues to move them in this silence, in whatever phase this is you find yourselves at, but somebody who's still really gripped by that fear, almost too scared to make that move forward. Very uncomfortable, and yet it feels very familiar to kind of remain in this, almost this stalemate, or kind of right at the brink, somebody who's almost at the peripheral of your energy. They're standing just outside of your energetic field, out of some kind of a perimeter, to where you might sense them kind of lurking around, but there's been no direct kind of indication of movement, or they're so kind of far removed energetically from you, you're unable to really perceive what's going on with them. It feels like just the same kind of icy sort of stagnancy of this person kind of hovering around. But internally, there is this, almost this idea of an ocean, a lot churning within them emotionally, being very drawn and compelled to kind of break that silence, break the ice between the both of you, and yet very fearful of what will be unleashed, maybe unleashed upon them, or again, kind of this this feeling of not wanting to get so swept up in this love and the potential that exists here, because the fall from that, to come crashing down from that, is something they fear they would never be able to recover from. Okay, and they say, I've been visualizing you laying beside me and us lovingly looking into each other's eyes. So they may be unconsciously manifesting a new beginning with you by the sheer nature of how much thought and attention is being directed toward these dreams of what a reconciliation with you could look like. It's that idea of energy flows where attention goes. That as much as there might not be very much apparent in a 3D sense of this person taking action or wanting to create any kind of a change, in the subtle realms, there's so much invested in this, both in being fixated on that element of terror, of fear, of hesitation, and at the same time, this kind of warm longing that they have for you that is almost kind of melting the energetic ice, whether they know it or not, within them. It's creating this kind of change. They're almost putting their order in with the universe. This is what I want because I keep focusing on it so much. So there may be some kind of a divine intervention that takes place, some kind of a serendipity to which the two of you encounter one another. You run into one another again. Or this can really be something where the signs increase for this person. Again, some kind of divine intervention or epiphany takes place where they all of a sudden have the courage to reach out. They almost take that leap, that chance, and then kind of move into that space of being very terrified, like, oh no, what have I just done? I just reached out. What's gonna happen? What's this gonna look like? But that door nevertheless having been open or knocked upon, and really in this person's heart of hearts, this is what they want. They are hoping that the two of you can really transcend what has happened. They're wanting to come to a space within themselves of being able to communicate some of their motivations, some of the feelings that they had, or the fears that they had, rather. And it's this desire for closeness, as much as they kind of fear what could really be destroyed within them should this connection be opened up to again, and should things really fall apart again or further down the road. There still is this deep longing that they have to dive into this nevertheless, regardless of the risk involved. And they also say, please be patient with me. I am healing my heart. So a lot of that fear could stem from some kind of a heartbreak, a major breakup or a divorce, or maybe even something they witnessed in childhood, or just a series, if this is someone that didn't really have much experience with kind of long-term or meaningful partnerships, just a repeating series of kind of disappointments in love that had kind of jaded them, their idea of what is possible in romance, what is possible in love, kind of just coming to equate love and loss, and with the intensity of the feelings that they have for you. kind of looking back on sort of what was required. It might have been relatively speaking easy, or even just something they compartmentalized that they kept within themselves to move forward from other disappointments. But the nature and intensity of what they're feeling for you, they're almost feeling that their previous methods of distracting themselves or ignoring, or just kind of moving from relationship to relationship, it wouldn't be sufficient in this case. That the mark you leave upon them, that you've already left upon them at the soul level, at an emotional level, this has been something that in these circumstances they've not been able to move on from, and so there's that fear of kind of the ultimate devastation that could ensue from this if things should go kind of south in this situation. But it is something where, again, this idea of kind of this iciness within them, and it's almost melting from the inside out. This person's in this process of kind of really looking at and taking into account sort of their relationship patterns, the baggage that they brought into this circumstance, the fears that they brought into this circumstance that really kind of prevented the two of you from acting upon the potential that exists here. Feeling very, almost blaming themselves for having kind of made sort of a overreacting in this circumstance, making a bigger deal out of this fear than it needed to be. So somebody who's in a process of healing that kind of wounding, that guardedness within them, in order to be able to come to that place of opening their heart, taking a chance on love, regardless of the outcome, because it's something that sticks with them. It's something that is really calling them or compelling them to take some kind of action. And they also say, expect an invitation to my home. I want to make you a delicious dinner. So for some of you, you might hear from this person with an invitation to come over for dinner. Maybe they're really good in the kitchen. Maybe they're a cook or a chef. They know their way around the kitchen. They could invite you out to dinner or out to some kind of mutual social event. This could be something as well. This can tie into that idea of serendipity, kind of the universe sort of taking action on both of your behalf. This person not acting, and so the universe acting for you, where you run into them maybe when you're out having dinner with friends, and it's just that moment of eye contact where sort of that silence melts away. This can also really talk about, with that idea of dinner, somebody who wants to nourish this connection, somebody who wants to feed this connection rather than feeding fear, somebody who wants to feed the vibrations and the chords of love that existed between the two of you in the past and still exist. They still feel you very tangibly. They feel very nourished by you, very fed on the soul level. They find you to be a very sustaining person in terms of the level of attraction and interest that they have for you. Very compatible on all levels, kind of emotionally, physically, intellectually, spiritually, despite even your apparent differences. And it's something where, they are moving closer and closer to that point, kind of melting the ice within them in order to break the ice between the both of you, with some kind of an olive branch, perhaps an apology or some kind of an invitation, something that just kind of sparks the connection again, or kind of opens those lines of communication to try and move beyond whatever has occurred in the past. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got M, V, X, E, T, L, U, I, N, W, Y, Q, D, F, and C. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.